You have watched it happen. Someone less talented than you, less intelligent, less hardworking, walks into a room, and within 6 months, their life has completely changed. New opportunities, new circles, new access to things you have been working toward for years, and you are standing there, wondering, what exactly did they do that you did not? Here is the answer. Most people never hear. They understood something about power, about how it flows, about what genuinely powerful people actually want from the people they allow into their inner circle, that most people are never taught. And today, we are going to give you all 13 of those laws, the exact framework Machiavelli spent his life studying in the courts of princes and kings, the precise psychological principles that separate the people who get close to power from the people who watch from the outside their entire lives. Stay until law number 8, because that one law alone has more practical value than everything most people will ever read about networking. In 1498, Niccolò Machiavelli was appointed Secretary of the Second Chancery of the Florentine Republic. No wealthy family, no inherited connections, no powerful patron who handed him the position, just a mind that understood something about powerful people that very few others did. He understood that power is not a destination. It is an ecosystem, a living system of relationships, obligations, strategic alliances, and carefully calibrated mutual usefulness. And the person who understands how that ecosystem operates, who can navigate it with precision and patience and genuine intelligence, does not need to be born into it. They can build their way into it from nothing, with intention. Over time, he spent the next 15 years at the center of Florentine power, meeting with kings, negotiating with popes, studying the men who held the world in their hands. And what he found, across every court, and every culture, and every generation of powerful people, he observed, was a set of laws, not written anywhere, not taught in any school, but operating consistently in every environment where power concentrated, determining who rose, and who stayed still, and who got close, and who got used, and who got destroyed. 13 of them, and we are going to go through every single one. Law number 1. Powerful people do not want admirers. They want assets. This is the first and most fundamental mistake most people make when they encounter someone genuinely powerful. They lead with admiration, with enthusiasm, with all the ways they have been impressed by what this person has built or achieved. And the powerful person hears it, has heard it 1,000 times before, and files the person in a specific category that has no future in it. Fan, not peer, not resource, not someone useful, someone who wants something from proximity to power without having anything to offer in return. Here is the psychology. Powerful people are surrounded by admirers constantly. Admiration costs nothing to give. It requires no risk, no skill, no genuine investment, and it provides nothing to the person receiving it that they do not already have in abundance. What powerful people are actually hungry for is very different. They are hungry for people who can make their problems smaller, who can see angles they have not seen, who can bring something specific and real, and not available anywhere else, who make the powerful person's life or work or vision more possible than it was before the meeting. This is what Machiavelli observed in court after court. The people who lasted, who built genuine long-term proximity to power, were almost never the ones who arrived as the most enthusiastic. They arrived as the most useful. The first question to ask, before approaching anyone powerful, is not, how can I show them that I respect what they have built? It is, what specific problem do they have right now that I am uniquely positioned to solve? Find that answer. Lead with that. Everything else follows. Law number 2. Be memorable for one specific thing. Not everything. One thing. This is counterintuitive for most people who have spent years trying to be well-rounded, to demonstrate range, to show that they can contribute across multiple areas. But here is how memory actually works. In the mind of a powerful person who meets hundreds of people, they do not remember the person who does many things adequately. They remember the person who does one thing in a way that makes them stop and think, who presents a specific angle, or insight or capability that they have not encountered in that specific form from anyone else. That is the person who comes to mind when a specific problem arises. That is the person who gets the call. That is the person who moves from peripheral contact to genuine connection. Machiavelli was not known as a generally impressive man. He was known as the person who understood how power actually works beneath the surface of how it was performed. That specific clarity, that single precise thing, was his entry point into every room he ever entered. Define your specific thing, the one angle that is genuinely yours, that comes from your specific experience and perspective, and is not easily replicated, and lead with that every time, until it becomes what people call you for. Law number 3. Never compete with the powerful. Position yourself beside them. This is one of the most psychologically subtle laws on this list, and the one most easily violated by ambitious people who have not fully understood the game they are playing. When you compete with someone powerful, when you demonstrate that you can do what they do, but better, you have just made yourself a threat. And powerful people deal with threats in a very specific way. They eliminate them, not necessarily dramatically, quietly, by closing doors that would otherwise have opened, by not making introductions that would have been natural, by ensuring that the ambitious threat remains peripheral to the places where real decisions are made. Machiavelli documented this pattern across every court he studied. The advisors who lasted were never the ones who made the prince feel replaceable. They were the ones who made the prince feel more fully himself, more capable, more certain, more expansive. Your goal in the presence of powerful people is never to outshine. It is to illuminate, to bring your specific capability to bear in a way that makes their vision more achievable, their strengths more visible, their blind spots, more clearly navigable, not because you are diminishing yourself, because you understand something deeper than competition, that the fastest path to the kind of access that changes everything is to make the person who already has it feel that you make their power more powerful, not less secure. Law number 4. Solve the problem they have not named. This law separates the genuinely elite connectors from the merely competent ones. Most people, when they want to impress a powerful person, focus on what that person has publicly identified as their challenge. They prepare answers to the stated questions. They arrive with solutions to the acknowledged problems, and they discover that everyone else has done exactly the same preparation. The truly magnetic person does something different. They study the powerful person closely enough to see the problem beneath the stated problem, the friction that has not been named, the gap between where things are and where they need to go, that the powerful person has been managing but not yet solving, and they arrive with insight about that, without being asked, without waiting to be told. It is a relevant problem, because they have done the work of actually understanding this person's world, not just the surface that is visible to everyone, the deeper architecture that requires genuine attention to perceive. Machiavelli wrote, "The man who seeks to deceive will always find someone willing to be deceived." He meant the opposite of deception. He meant that the person who truly sees will always find someone who desperately needed to be truly seen. Go deeper than the stated problem. Arrive with insight about the thing they have not yet found, the words for, and watch what happens to the quality of the conversation. Law number 5. Make them look better in front of the people they need to impress. Power is not self-contained. It is relational. Every powerful person is performing their power for a specific audience, whether that audience is investors, peers, the market, or history itself. They are always managing how they appear to the people whose opinion of them determines whether their power expands or contracts. The person who helps them look better in those specific moments, who provides the information, or the insight, or the presence, or the introduction, that makes the powerful person appear more capable, or more visionary, or more in command, in front of the people they most need to impress, becomes indispensable, not because of flattery, because of function, because they have inserted themselves into the powerful person's most important dynamic, the management of their reputation, with the people who matter most to them. Study who the powerful people you want to connect with are performing for. Who are the people whose opinion of them they most value, and find ways to help them perform better in front of that audience. The gratitude that generates is not the surface gratitude of a compliment received. It is the deeper, more durable, more strategically significant gratitude of someone who helped with something that genuinely mattered. Law number 6. Be patient enough to plant seeds, not entitled enough to expect immediate fruit. This law is broken, more consistently than almost any other, by people who understand the theory of networking, but have not developed the psychology required to practice it effectively. The instinct, when you meet someone powerful, is to move, to convert the contact into something concrete as quickly as possible, to follow up aggressively, to make sure they know you are available and interested and ready to contribute, all of which communicates precisely what you are trying not to communicate, that you need this, that you are operating from scarcity, that the relationship matters more to you than to them, and that imbalance, that visible differential in how much each party needs the connection, is the most effective way to ensure that the connection never develops into something real. Machiavelli wrote about the timing of approach with extraordinary precision. He observed that the princes who gained the most loyal and capable advisors were not the ones who moved fastest to formalize relationships. They were the ones who created conditions in which the most talented people wanted to move closer, who made proximity to them feel like something earned rather than something offered. The psychology of planting seeds is the psychology of genuine confidence, of having enough going on in your own world. Law number 7. Control what you reveal, and when you reveal it. Information is currency in the world of power, and like all currency, its value is determined by scarcity and timing. The person who tells everything immediately, who shares their full range of capability and knowledge and strategic insight in the first meeting, has spent all their currency at once. There is nothing left. That requires further investment from the powerful person. The mystery is gone. The potential is mapped. The value is known. And known quantities are managed, not pursued. Machiavelli understood the discipline of revelation as one of the core skills of genuine political intelligence. He never showed his full hand, never disclosed all of what he knew, when partial disclosure would serve the same purpose, never made himself fully legible to anyone who had not earned the depth of his trust. This is not deception. This is the management of your most valuable asset, your specific knowledge and perspective and capability, which should be revealed in layers, each layer earned by the depth of the relationship that has developed to that point. Lead with what is relevant and genuinely useful in the current moment. Hold back what requires a deeper relationship to deserve, and let the powerful person sense that there is more, that what they have seen is impressive, but not the full picture. That continued investment in the relationship. Law number 8. The one I promised you. Make yourself easy to remember, but difficult to fully understand. This is the precise combination that creates the most magnetic quality available in human interaction. Easy to remember means your specific thing is clear and consistently demonstrated. People know what you do, what you bring, what the reliable value of your presence is. Difficult to fully understand means there is always something just beyond what is visible, a depth that has not yet been fully reached, a complexity that reveals itself slowly, over time, in ways that make continued engagement feel like continued discovery. Machiavelli wrote about this quality in the princes he most admired, the ones who lasted, who maintained genuine power over decades, despite the constant challenge of rivals and conspirators, and the shifting tides of political fortune. They were legible enough to be trusted, mysterious enough to be respected. You could predict what they stood for. You could not fully predict what they would do, and that combination, that precise calibration of reliability and surprise, kept every person around them in a state of continued attention, continued engagement, continued investment in understanding what could not be fully understood. Be consistent in your values. Be unpredictable in how those values express themselves. Be reliable in your capability. Be surprising in its application. Give them enough to trust. Leave them always wanting to understand more. Law number 9. Make your absence felt before you remove your presence. The value of what you contribute should be demonstrated before it is withdrawn, not as manipulation, as the natural sequence of building genuine usefulness, and then allowing the powerful person to notice what changes when you are not there. Most people in the orbit of power are always present, always available, always eager to be useful, which means their presence becomes the baseline, unremarkable, expected, and therefore unnoticed, until it disappears. Machiavelli documented this pattern with the prince's most effective advisors. They were not always present. They were strategically present, and their absences, deliberate, well-timed, allowed the powerful person to feel the specific gap that appeared when they were gone. Build your contribution to the point where it is genuinely noticed, and then be unavailable, not dramatically, not as a statement, simply as the natural expression of someone whose time and attention are genuinely in demand. And let the powerful person feel what your absence means. For the first time, that feeling is often the beginning of genuine pursuit of the powerful person moving toward you, rather than simply receiving your approach. Law number 10. Never need the connection more than they do. This is the underlying psychology of every law on this list, and the one that makes all the others work or fail. Need is visible, however well disguised, however professionally packaged, however carefully managed, in the surface of the interaction. The powerful person who has spent years in proximity to people who want things from them has developed an extraordinary sensitivity to need. They feel it before it is stated. They recognize the specific quality of eagerness that comes from someone whose advancement depends on this relationship working out, and they calibrate accordingly, not always consciously, as an instinctive response to the power differential that need creates. You stay slightly beneath the person who needs you more. The person who needs less naturally holds the higher position, not through aggression, simply through the structural reality of who has more to lose if the relationship ends. Build enough in your own world that no single connection is the difference between your advancement and your stagnation, not because you do not value the relationship, because you value yourself enough to not require it. And that self-sufficiency, that genuine independence of spirit and resource, is perhaps the single most attractive quality available in the world of power, where everyone needs something. The person who needs nothing is the most interesting person in the room. Law number 11. Be the person who connects other powerful people, not the person who connects to power. This distinction, this specific repositioning of your role in the ecosystem of power, is one of the most strategically sophisticated moves available to someone building access from outside the existing circles. The connector of powerful people is not subordinate to them. The connector is the bridge, the infrastructure, the node through which value flows between other nodes. And the node is not at the bottom of the network. It is at the center of it. Machiavelli practiced this consistently. He was not simply an advisor to the powerful. He was a person through whom the powerful could access other powerful, through whom information and alliance and strategic coordination flowed. And that position, that role as the architect of connections rather than merely a participant in them, gave him a form of influence that survived even the loss of any single relationship, because his value was not in any one connection. It was in the structure of all of them. Who in your existing network does not know each other, but should? What introductions could you make that would create genuine value for both parties? Where can you position yourself as the person who makes the powerful more powerful by putting them in the right rooms with the right people? That is not networking. That is architecture. And architects rarely go unnoticed. Law number 12. Protect their reputation as if it were your own. Powerful people do not forget the people who protected them, not from enemies, from themselves, from the decisions made in moments of pressure, or emotion, or insufficient information that would have cost them dearly, if not quietly redirected. The advisor who tells the powerful person only what they want to hear, who celebrates every decision and validates every impulse, is a mirror, pleasant, affirming, and ultimately worthless, because mirrors cannot protect you from the wall you are walking toward. The advisor who tells the powerful person what they need to hear, who has enough courage and enough genuine investment in their success to say the difficult thing at the difficult moment, is rare, and rare things are valued. Machiavelli wrote, "The first impression of a prince's intelligence is gained by looking at the men around him." He was not talking about the men who agreed. He was talking about the men who served, genuinely served, which sometimes meant disagreeing, redirecting, protecting the prince from his own worst impulses. Be the person who can deliver difficult truth in a way that lands as loyalty rather than criticism. Who cares enough about the powerful person's outcome to risk their momentary displeasure? That kind of person becomes indispensable because they are the rarest thing in a world of mirrors. They are a window. Law number 13. And the final law, the one that holds everything else. Become someone who powerful people would be embarrassed not to know, not through aggression, not through the performance of significance, through the actual accumulation of something real, something visible, something that makes the ecosystem of power. Notice your absence from it as a gap, not just a missing participant, but a missing piece. Machiavelli's ultimate lesson from his years at the center of power was not about how to approach the powerful. It was about how to build something worth approaching. The most reliable access to power is not strategy. It is significance, not the performed kind, the genuine kind, the kind that comes from doing work at a level of quality that creates its own gravity, that pulls the powerful toward it, rather than requiring the powerless to push toward the powerful. This is the long game, the patient game, the game that most people are not willing to play, because it requires building in the dark for longer than the immediate feedback of social performance. But it is the only game that produces the kind of position in the ecosystem of power that cannot be taken away, because it was not given. It was built by the quality of the work, alone, in the hours. No one was watching, until one day, everyone was. Drop this in the comments if this changed how you think. I build my own gravity. Subscribe to Dark Stoic. Every week we go exactly this deep into the psychology of how power actually works. This is only the beginning. Subscribe and build something worth being near.